So welcome back to the last case for this week of Favorite Friday. And today's case, we're actually going to Maryland and this little town called Bethesda. Anyway, yeah. So we're going to Maryland today. This case is pretty well known in the true crime community. There's actually a lot of cases in the I guess a lot of people that have covered this case. I actually have just finished researching as of today, the day this video is supposed to be uploaded. So this video will more likely be uploaded late, but then of course this is the last case. Of course, this is what it is. So anyway, if you have any more cases that I guess are like this, or you think that I should cover, of course let me know down below. And let's go and get started.
But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, maybe you'll get sick of being the monster out of my head, under my bed. Think you're something out of my nightmares, standing right there. But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, then will you get bored of killing me?
So of course, always gotta start with the killer. Brittany Norwood was born on May 19, 1982, and she was said to have been one of 9 siblings. Sources say that she's actually the 6th of 9 siblings, but yeah, it's a pretty big family. She was raised in Seattle, Washington, and was said to be a middle-class family, so she didn't have to struggle for anything. Anything she wanted, she pretty much could get. And so I guess during her senior year of high school, she got the scholarship for soccer at Stony Brook University. It must have been a pretty good portion for her tuition paid off. So she went to Stony Brook University, played for the soccer team apparently between 2000 and 2003. She would be found out to be discovered to be stealing from her teammates. So then, that of course gets her kicked off. And if you're kicked off the team, well then that loses the scholarship. The scholarship can't afford to pay college. So then she pretty much, I guess sources say she dropped out. She would then go to live with a sister in Washington, D.C. She was somehow gotten a job as a hotel clerk in William Intercontinental Hotel, which apparently was this really big upscale hotel. And she was promoted to managing the VIP guests. It was said that she got fired from there for stealing also, but I could confirm that. At one point, she was said to have gotten a boyfriend. The name, we don't even know the name, but he was said to have been a dentist. They broke up after being together for about a year and a half, but apparently she was not accepting the breakup. So she would stalk him, and he decided to get a new girlfriend pretty quick after they broke up. So she was stalking her, I guess her now ex, and the new girlfriend. Even apparently broke into the apartment and stole some of the expensive stuff from the new girlfriend, so clothes, perfume, money, stuff like that. And so of course a restraining order would be filed. She of course breaks the restraining order and apparently is seen outside his job multiple times. And of course an arrest warrant would be made, and she never technically was actually arrested, but they said if she broke it one more time, then that's grounds to arrest her. Because apparently that's how it's working in Maryland. So it said that around 8 years later, she would start working at Lululemon. Basically this upscale store that sells leggings and stuff, really expensive leggings. And one of her coworkers, which is said to be an actual manager, was Jana Murray. And Jana Toxell Murray was born on November 22nd, 1980. In Wichita, Kansas, but she was raised in Texas. She was said to love traveling, said to be a great person from all sources I could get. And she actually has traveled abroad, even went to Spain, which is where she actually met her longtime boyfriend, who sadly was planning to propose. He was planning to propose after she graduated, but of course that day would never come. And so of course, with Lululemon being an expensive store, apparently this is very common in retail stores. It is mandatory for employees to have their bags checked by a manager, and then of course I guess some random coworker checks the manager bag to make sure nobody's stealing, because of course Lululemon has very expensive stuff. So on the night of March 11, 2011, Jana and Brittany are working. Jana was supposed to be working that night. She switched with someone else, as you do. She was even supposed to meet a coworker at a nearby bar after she got off, but the coworker canceled last minute and apparently had texted to Jana, "Hope you survive," because she had to work with Brittany, not knowing, at least I don't think she knew it was about to happen. So of course, like I said, this little bag check, she checks Jana's bag very quickly, but of course Jana didn't have any stolen merchandise, so Jana was good. She has to check Brittany's bag. Brittany tries to say that no, someone else already checked my bag earlier, but Jana's all suspicious because Brittany has a history of stealing. So Jana checks Brittany's bag anyway, and of course there's like this stolen pair of leggings with tags still on and everything. So of course she asks, where's the receipt for this to prove you paid for it so you don't get accused of theft. Well, she says another coworker already rung me up. She tries to go back in the system, try to like pull up like the receipt to prove, so because the coworker is obviously not there. It was just those two at that point. And she said, we'll deal with it in the morning because apparently the computer had already been logged off and they couldn't log back in. So Brittany leaves. Jana makes 2 calls. She made a call to the alleged coworker that she said that Brittany was saying, oh, like she rang me up. Coworker obviously says, nah, she liked to steal. And she calls Rachel, the store manager, and Rachel's like, well, we got her. She's fired. Because apparently they've been suspected that she was stealing, but they were saying like, oh, she steals again, that she's done for. So since Jana technically had caught Brittany stealing, then it was attempting to steal, then therefore she was done for. So then of course, Brittany has left the store and realizing that she's going to get caught, not knowing that she already has asked the coworker that she lied about and told Rachel. So then she, in the short amount of time, so she is trying to get Jana's number, which she doesn't have because she's only been working there about maybe 6 weeks. She calls another coworker who's not even named. She gets that number from Jana, calls Jana, trying to like, she would say trying to ask for forgiveness. And then she would tell Jana that she apparently left her wallet, and her wallet had her Metro card, and apparently the Metro card was like for the train. And if she didn't have that, she basically couldn't get a ride home. Jana was like, yeah, we can actually go back in. I actually left my laptop, and I need my laptop for my thesis, for my paper, because Jana was trying to pursue 2 master's degrees at Johns Hopkins University at the time. So she was like, yeah, I need my laptop. So they get inside the store. It's believed that Brittany wanted to talk about this with Jana, but Jana didn't want to talk about it. And of course, Brittany knew she was going to get fired and probably had charges pressed on her because, again, these are some expensive ass clothes. So of course, she hits Jana in the back of the head, and apparently that's believed to like knock her down. That we know of, there are like 331 bruises on her, and those are just the ones they could count. So it's probably like way more. Anyway, yeah. So obviously you could tell, and I think at least 8 different weapons were said to be used. We know a hammer was used. I know they used a random hanger on her from like the toolbox that was in the store. And so it was actually said that out of all those 300 and something bruises, she was actually said to have been alive for all of them. And what killed her was that Brittany went to the other side of the store, grabbed a knife. Why Lululemon has knives, I don't know. But apparently they got knives. She went to the knife at the other side of the store, grabbed it, came back, stabbed Jana in the neck. So through one side, came out the other, and then in the brain, and that's basically what killed her. So now that Jana was technically dead, Brittany was going to make it look like she had been raped. There was a robbery, and she had been raped. So she then grabs this size 14 men's shoe that were in the store. And apparently there were men that came in the store, even though Lululemon is obviously predominantly women. There are men that come to the store, and in case you ain't got like the proper shoes, we got shoes that pretty much can fit everybody. You might be a size 9, but you got to wear these size 14s if you want to see like how you look in the shoes, how you look with your clothes on. So yeah, then she grabbed the shoes, put them on herself, and then walked in Jana's blood, because at this point, obviously, all them bruises is going to be a lot of blood. She walks around, make sure there's blood prints, make it look like the men had did it. So then she tied herself up with some zip ties and waited until whoever came in the morning to discover them and to make it like she was also a victim. So the next morning, March 12th, around 8:30 or 9, sources differ, the manager, Rachel, comes into the store. And she sees the doors unlocked, so she thinks Jana just left the door unlocked. She sees the store in a disarray. She doesn't even see the safes or the registers empty, which they were empty, because Brittany was trying to make this look like a robbery. And so then of course at this point, Rachel's obviously freaked out, so she leaves. Well, not leaves the scene. She's still there, but she goes outside. And there's like this line of people at the Apple store next door. Not Apple the fruit, but like Apple the phone brand company. Yeah. Anyway, the iPad 2 apparently was supposed to come out that same, like the day before. And so people were in line basically to make sure they got the newest product. And there's this guy named Ryan. Sources say his name is Ryan. That might not be his real name. Ryan gets out of line. Because he sees Rachel in distress. So he goes over, he sees what's wrong. She somehow has him come in. And he comes in. He is the one that discovers Jana's body. And then while walking back from the understandable shock of seeing Jana's body, he sees Brittany on the floor, obviously still alive. So then, of course, Brittany's taken to the hospital because she's still alive. So they're trying to rush to make sure she doesn't die too. And she basically is pretty much told there that Jana's dead, which obviously she already knows because she's a killer. But of course, police don't know that. They at this point they think that they're both victims. So Brittany is basically telling the police, "Oh well, we went back to go get my Metro card so I can go home because obviously I was going to be stranded without it." And Jana agreed to go back. That's where the men came in and raped them and left Brittany alive because apparently she was more fun to fuck. And a rape kit actually would be done on Brittany because obviously when you say you're raped, obviously they're going to do a rape kit on you, and the test came back negative. However, there was semen in her, even though she said there shouldn't be semen. Like, they basically asked any sexual partners you had, like, let us know so we can go test them. She said, well, there shouldn't be any. So the semen was in there, and apparently that was within the last week. Okay, so even though we obviously know Brittany's story is a lie with the two men raping her and shit, somehow, I guess, luckily for Brittany, at least temporarily, there were two men seen on CCTV cameras on the night of the murder at the nearby Apple store that was next door. Because somehow Lululemon did not have CCTV cameras, but Apple did. They got the two men, and so they're trying to, like, spread the word out. People are very frightened. Sales go down at Lululemon and apparently other places by more than 50% because people are just that terrified. Pepper spray and other defenses, those sales will obviously go up. Because Jana was a Lululemon employee, Lululemon themselves actually offered $125,000 to anyone who could help, like, give information that could possibly help find the two alleged men that killed her. And sure enough, over 300 leads came in because once money comes involved, everybody want to cut. They actually go to the Apple store next door to see who was all working that night, and there's actually two employees, and they were actually said to have heard screaming, like squealing and like pleading for help around 10 p.m. They go to the security guards because it's the Apple store, so of course they're gonna have security guards. And apparently the security guard named Ricardo apparently like bangs on the wall that connects the Lululemon to the Apple store, and then the noises just stopped. So then they just go on about their day. And other sources say apparently he put in his earbuds. During the investigation, they realized that Jana's car is missing. Remember, Jana is from Texas. Like, Jana was living in Texas before here, so she had Texas license plates, which should be easily found because it's in Maryland. And an officer remembers that he actually saw Jana's car in a parking lot around midnight with someone in the passenger seat and the lights were on. And apparently he had returned back sometime around 2 a.m. and the car was gone. So they go to that same parking lot, the car is still there, and they're taking it for evidence. So the police decided to do basically an old-fashioned stakeout to see if the men would possibly return, to see if like maybe they could catch the killers that way. And sure enough, the two men they did see on surveillance video would return, but also we know they are not the killers. They are two innocent men who worked at the restaurant down the street. The reason why they wore all black was because they were waiters and that's their uniform. And the reason why they both were walking together was because they both lived in the same area. I don't think the same area, but like in the same direction. So like, safety number. And so with that lead out the window, they started looking at this random homeless, I think like this known local homeless man named Keith. Keith was apparently known for being violent towards women, typically like unwanted sexual advances. Keith would normally go to a bar most nights, but apparently the night of the murder he was not at said bar. So then of course the police are looking into him. They find him at a hospital, and he actually has a warrant for his arrest regarding some sort of alcohol, so like maybe public intoxication or something. And so they arrest him, not for the murder, because they don't have any evidence tying him to it, but they arrest him because, well, they got a warrant for him. So while they do that, they take his clothes, and there is blood on his clothes, because apparently he did get into a fight with another homeless man. However, it was pretty quickly, like, discovered that he couldn't have done this murder. Even though an employee at a hardware store had apparently said they had seen Keith wearing all black, wearing a backpack, and with a white man, because apparently Keith is black, on the night of the murder. And, Keith was a loner, so of course the officer was interested. So of course the two men out the window and Keith out the window, they start looking back at Brittany, look at her past, see what type of person she is. They see that she pretty much has been accused of theft a lot of places that she has been, so obviously, that's a red flag. I guess they asked her coworkers, like, how she was as a person, and the manager apparently said that she had taken advantage of the discount at another Lululemon, because this wasn't the first Lululemon she worked at. She worked at one in Georgetown, which apparently was in DC, 30 minutes from Bethesda, basically. And basically, apparently, like, all the employees get like this major discount, like 70 or 75% off. And so expensive those leggings are, that's obviously a great deal. So then they obviously stock up but you can't spend no more than $1,000. And it's not for everybody. It's for like employees only. And so Brittany had apparently asked if she could go over the limit because she was new at the time, and so she needed to like stock up on some more stuff because apparently, I don't know how true this is, but apparently you were supposed to only wear Lululemon while you were working at Lululemon because you basically were a walking ad for the company. So then the boss, I guess, having some sympathy on her because she was new, they were like, yeah, sure, of course. So instead of spending less than $1,000 what she was supposed to, she spent about $2,200. So she went about a good $1,200 over the limit. So then the manager is obviously like, okay. So then she apparently gets fired. She goes to corporate and is like, hey, other people did it too. They didn't get fired. They didn't get reprimanded, nothing like that. And I actually have permission from the manager, so I don't know why I'm getting in trouble. And somehow corporate, despite seeing like that $1,200 difference, they was like, you know what, you're right. You did get permission and other people doing it. That's not fair to you. So then you're going to get rehired, but you're going to get moved to a different location. And that's how she got to the one in Bethesda where she was working with Jana. Rachel and Jana had apparently even had a meeting saying the next time they catch Brittany stealing, she was fired. So the night that Jana caught Brittany trying to steal those pair of leggings, that basically was her last strike. Hence why she called Rachel to let her know that Jana was fired. So at this point, Brittany's obviously a suspect. Brittany is at the police station and they are trying to get her siblings to like talk to her to see if she would confess. They show the evidence to her siblings. Her sister Marissa apparently is so emotional that she has to leave the room, which, you know, understandable, because at this point she's like, well, bitch, you did it. And her brother Chris is like trying to get her to confess because, like, again, the evidence is not looking good against her. And so she basically says that she doesn't want to talk about it there, which basically is a dead giveaway that she did it. So then, of course, I guess that was enough evidence for the police to be like, well, she did it. So then they arrest her. She is charged with first-degree murder. It is said that she apparently was charged with murder on the day of Jana's funeral. Speaking of which, apparently over 200 people attended, and that included the founder of Lululemon himself. Getting both her masters at Johns Hopkins. Yeah, they decided to give her diploma posthumously, meaning basically like after the person had died. So, you know, that was nice. And apparently between the 7 months between her getting arrested and her going to trial, she apparently was complaining about how Brittany was in jail, basically complaining during the calls about how she couldn't get her hair or nails done. And of course, remember, those prison calls are recorded, so apparently that is confirmed. At trial, her defense lawyer basically said that Brittany was guilty, but by insanity. Basically, she moved the car because Rachel apparently lived within she literally could see apparently the store from out her front window, and so she saw Jana's car there after hours. She would think that something was wrong and naturally just head over to the store. It is later revealed that Brittany was believed to be working as a prostitute. She was on sugar daddy sites and even had a Craigslist ad for it, and even apparently had a card in her wallet for a prostitution counseling service. However, none of this evidence was given to the jury, and it was seen to be as biased. So that's why. And so Brittany, of course, is sentenced to life in prison without parole. None of the money from the for what she tried to make like a robbery was ever found. It's believed that she hid it somewhere trying to put it for later use, because I guess she thought she was just going to get off scot-free with murder. And so apparently the store had shut down for a bit, like after the murder, but it opened up I think like the day of her trial, like the day of her trial starting. And apparently there was a mural created in Jana's memory with like love, and then they relocated because people were starting to associate that location with murder, because again, a murder did happen there, and so they could not take it with them, and so they gave the mural to Jana. I think specifically, I think they gave it to her brother from what I read. And so of course in 2015, Brittany would try to file for an appeal. That of course was denied. And so if one good thing came out of this, it said that once a month her friends and family do come up, like they meet together apparently at a bar, and they do talk about fond memories of Jana. So yeah, that was the case of the Lululemon murders. I hope you liked it. I hope, maybe not liked it, but maybe I guess you learned something new. If you know any other cases similar to this, definitely let me know, and I'll see you females next week. Bye.
So if I play dead, will you regret everything that you did, that you said? I don't think you understand what you're doing, and my heart's black and blue from the bruising. I feel like when I'm with you I'm losing. I feel like you think that this amusing, sitting there gaslighting and confusing. Was it me? Is it me? Am I deluded? I I'm the one who's always sorry, the conclusion. Even though I offer all of the solutions, I wish you loved me like I love you, it's stupid. When I'm alone with you I never feel lucid. I wish I wasn't struck by Cupid. I wish when I first saw you I knew this. When I'm with you I feel so useless, I feel diluted, my heart's been wounded. Silhouettes of you are like a taunt, never really know just what you want. With you I don't ever feel calm, I can feel the sweat inside my palm. Play with me like cats and a string, you don't understand the